Beast in town.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Podcast The Sequel, where we discuss the good, the bad, and the continued. My name is Joseph.
I'm Ryan.
I'm Marissa.
I'm Manira.
And on this week's episode, we're going to do the season 1 finale and recap some of our favorite sequels that we talked about and some of the worst sequels that we talked about. And getting into that, who wants to start this bad boy off?
Not me.
Not you.
Can I say what my worst sequel is just to get
Just
it out
off
of
the
way?
rip, just to
get
rip
out
that
of the way,
band.
rip that Band-Aid.
I was gonna say I feel like she should go last because
Just rip it off.
But
Just
yeah,
go for it.
let's
Just rip
do
it off.
Yeah, do it.
Alien
hurt,
Resurrection.
Okay.
I feel like
That's your worst, really?
yeah. It was a toss up between that and
Shrek 2.
How Dare You, Son of the Mask. I was deciding between both, and I ultimately went with Alien Resurrection. We all know this already at this point. I'm not the biggest fan of the Alien franchise.
I had no idea.
You wouldn't know, right? So
yeah.
you watch all the other episodes. I'm not the biggest fan of Aliens, and I feel like I already didn't like Alien and Aliens, whichever one's first, whichever one's second at this point. I don't. Which one's first, Alien then Aliens, or Aliens
We've
then
been
Aliens?
paying
Alien
attention.
and then Aliens.
Alien then Aliens. Okay, I wasn't the biggest fan of
Because
Alien
one
slash
is
Aliens.
One alien. And aliens
And-
is plural.
Oh, that's true. And then fair. And I feel like with Resurrection, I was already not a fan. So then with this one, I was just like, God, this is so awful. And then the whole I still can't get over them in their weird little prison setting.
That was 3.
That was 3.
Yeah.
I didn't like anything.
You're thinking about the one.
Oh, that's what Winona Ryder's Resurrection, right? Okay, I didn't care for that. And then there was one other scene. I think the one scene that stood out specifically was the Winona Ryder and the Sigourney Weaver. It's not her. It's they recreated her.
The clone?
The clone.
Yeah.
That's the word. Yeah, I couldn't stand Sigourney Weaver as the clone, and then the weird little caressing thing that they did with her. Just not a fan. Overall, not a fan. That was my least favorite sequel that we talked about.
Okay.
Just rip that Band-Aid right off.
It's definitely a stinker for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, some of the effects in that movie. I mean, they
rough.
speak for themselves. Some of the shooting with the ricocheting. Again, the only thing I loved about that film was the basketball scene. That's about it. So.
Oh, when Sigourney Weaver made her
Yeah, on
basketball.
the 475th time.
Yeah.
And
It's
then
not even in my top 3 worst that we've covered.
It's mine.
I would put it in my top 5, maybe, possibly.
Maybe yeah. Oh
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah,
I would say top
yeah.
5, but yeah, my top 3, I was like, nah.
There were 3
No.
I was deciding between. The third one, I was just like, okay, maybe. But then Son of the Mask and Resurrection were definitely my number 1. And then 0.9. And then the third one, I was just like, nah, those 2 are worse than this one. Let's just not even talk about
You've
it.
definitely given some half a poppies to
Alien
some
Resurrection
of
was
these
one
movies.
of them.
Yeah.
So that was my treat for this episode. Was I actually went with the help of Ryan.
Thank you.
We went through.
Did you get all of our ratings?
We got all of the ratings.
Nice.
So I have
Sick.
a spreadsheet. I did all of our averages. I did per movie. I even did collectively as a group, what we give movies in general, or at least over the season. So as a group, we average across the board based off scores. We
Can I
typically
guess?
give what we give movies. Just a general average score.
all 4 of us.
All 4 of
Yes,
us
the average.
together have an average score collectively.
Each one of us has an average.
But we're all the same number. We're about it's about 0.1 away.
Okay, so it's...
So we're generally give the same review overall.
3.
It's close, but no.
I feel like it's a 3.5.
Close. No.
No.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Joseph,
what
do you want to
Mine
give
was
a
a
shot?
3.
4?
No, that's so generous.
Okay.
Way too generous.
No.
2.5.
Okay.
And one
Yeah.
of us is more generous than the others.
By 0.1.
Who's the most
Who is
generous
it?
one? Is it
Okay,
Would you like to
so
guess?
Ryan. So yeah, no, Ryan is the most generous. So.
Good
But,
for you.
okay, but
Point.
here I will give you this.
What's the order?
I will give you the
From generous
statistics
to
right
least. I know you're probably
Okay.
last.
now. She is.
Okay. Yeah. I don't have to guess that
So
one.
Ryan is the most generous. He is at 2.60, and then it's me with 2.55. So I was like, it's a matter of. Joseph, you're next. You're at 2.54, and then Mooney is at a 2.52.
Well, that's not bad. I thought you were going to be at a 1 point something, dude. I'm like,
No, it's because my favorite sequel that we talked about got a pretty high rating for me.
Yes.
It is.
That
it
one
is.
comes around to
that's
you
on
up.
average. The the highest movie that we rated collectively was Godfather Part 2. And
Nice.
then the one that we rated the least amount was Son of the Mask.
Yeah, that checks out.
That was the one that we rated.
Which is
the
funny
least.
because we talked about that on the pilot episode. That's exactly how it ended up.
Although I will say my worst movie that I picked as my like number one. Mine lined up with our second like lowest average movie. So I'll pull it out just so you guys can see. I'm trying to hide it to be secretive. Yeah, maybe we can put that on.
So,
The shuffling of papers.
It's official, guys.
Should we put the graphic up, or are we not even going to attempt to do that?
yeah,
Yeah, we probably could. I only did okay, so I didn't do it for if we talk like when we talk about the original movies. I just did it for the sequels
Yeah.
altogether. So, yeah, our second worst rated movie was my number one, which was Swan Princess Escape from
Castle Mountain,
Castle, Witch Mountain, whatever castle.
I feel like that was
Secret
like
of the
ones across
Castle.
the board.
That one was pretty rough. So we gave that one collectively a 0.875. So the only ones that really rounded, I mean, you guys all gave it a 1. I gave it a 0.5. So
Sick.
there you go. 3 5s were given to sequels this year. Joseph, you gave out 2 of those. I gave out 1. You and I
Not
both
given
gave.
fives.
Huh?
You
To
did,
sequel-
you
not
did,
to
but not to
original.
sequels.
Sick.
Yeah.
This is only just the sequels.
Yeah, this is just sequels. yeah.
Eventually, because now that we have this half of the spreadsheet,
we can do the other half.
the other
pretty
half will
easy.
be easier
Yeah.
to get. So thanks for nothing, guys. No, but we'll have that on the podcast, the wiki.
Yeah, me and Joseph both gave Godfather Part 2 5s, and
And
then
you gave
Joseph,
Shrek 2.
you gave Shrek 2 a 5.
Oh, okay.
You did. You said
I,
it was.
did, I thought I did for Aliens. That's how I was confusing it. But
No,
Yeah.
I'll go watch it back.
I
You
think
guys
I-
should
It
too.
was 4.5. I want to say that you gave to
What
Aliens.
was Aliens?
I think you might have given Alien a 5.
Yeah, you gave it 4.5.
No, I probably did 4.5.
You did 4.5
Okay.
for Aliens. I don't know about Alien. I didn't clock
Oh,
that one
yeah.
yet. Mooney, you gave Aliens 3.5.
That was probably my favorite one.
Aliens.
That was my favorite out of the Aliens, the older Aliens movie that we watched. That one was probably my favorite.
The highest score that you
Except for one
gave
of the
for
songs.
sequels this season was Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. You
Me?
gave it a 4.5.
It was-
God, not even Shrek 2? Really?
I thought
I'm
no, I
surprised
thought
you-
Shrek 2 would be your highest
Okay.
rating for a sequel.
As much as I love
Yeah, I would have
Shrek,
thought that too.
as much as
Yeah.
I love Shrek, Shrek 2 is not my favorite Shrek sequel.
That's what she said. Yeah.
Yeah, you
That's
did
true,
say that.
yeah.
You did.
You did
I'm
establish
gonna
that.
save my perfect score for Shrek for
Oh
the greatest
Another
sequel.
time
For the
down the
greatest
line.
sequel, yes.
I totally
down the line.
forgot, Joseph. You gave Home Alone 2, Lost in New York a 3.8.
Specific.
the weirdest rating. Yeah. Overall, good first season though.
Good flow.
Yeah.
Good flow of numbers.
What about you guys? You didn't do your worst.
My worst would probably be The Son of the Mask, and has nothing to do with the acting. Has more to do with the studio and the way they took that film. So it's funny when we were bringing up the Jim Carrey thing for Sonic, which by the way, that episode's out. Go check it out. Somebody tweeted about Jim Carrey being like, "Oh, I want to do like another Mask movie." And somebody was like, "Oh, it's funny. They should do it with you having a kid that wears the mask as well." Like, kind of
Oh
just
my
taking the
God.
established of the second one to like a Jim Carrey one.
It's like, no, you just wrote Son of the Mask.
He just wrote something. Yeah. Yeah. It's a bad movie, man. And that's just bad script, bad direction, bad studio, just driving something that didn't need to be made. So yeah, Son of the Mask, unfortunately, is the worst sequel I feel like we reviewed. Swan Princess, as terrible as that is, I think I enjoyed it just because we watched it together as a unit. So it was more enjoyable for me from just like kind of making fun of it and just, but watching Son of the Mask was a rough watch for me. It was just really hard to get through. And that's just, to me, it's more anger towards the studio and studio issues that play a part in all movies. So yeah, Son of the Mask is the worst sequel for me.
I'm trying to think of what I actually rated as the worst, because I feel like I was
Do you want me to tell you?
nice to Son of the Mask because they attempted to do something, and it's like it wasn't necessarily like it was a bad movie for sure. Don't get me wrong about that, but it was almost like
Oh,
I felt bad
jeez.
for the people involved in the movie.
Yeah. That's where I'm at too. But I feel more, I think that's why I'm rating it lower now in my mind, because I'm like, fuck, that sucks, because there's something that was there and it feels like studio interference
Yeah.
just made what that movie ended up being.
Yeah. In my head, I want to say the lowest thing I gave was Swan Princess. If I
You
had to
have a
guess.
4-way tie for your worst.
It's actually
My
pretty
bad.
surprising.
You gave 4 movies a 1. That's the lowest score that you gave this season, and 1 was Swan Princess. You also did Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2,
Yeah, that was
Son of the
terrible.
Mask, and then Weekend at Bernie's 2, which was in my top 3 as worst. Yeah.
Yeah, because it was just like to go from the first one to the second one. Like
Rough.
there was magic that was happening in the first one that was just
Literally.
not there in the second one.
Yeah.
And then Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a great movie. It's iconic, and then it's so cheapened by the second one.
Which I feel like a lot of people would not me. I agree with you, but I feel like a lot of people that are horror fans would disagree with you.
And I get that because it has that like things that you would want from
It's very
horror.
culty.
Yeah,
Like,
it's like
very-
a cult
yeah.
classic for sure.
Yeah. Because a lot of people feel that way about like the Evil Dead movies too.
Yes.
Like they feel very like, oh, this is like Evil 2 is better than Evil Dead 2 is better than Evil Dead the first one, and then you get into like Army of Darkness,
Which
and
I
all that
would
stuff.
probably agree with. That Evil Dead 2 is better than Evil Dead 1. That's my opinion.
I want to go back and rewatch it now, and obviously like we'll get to it eventually on the podcast, but I don't know because I feel like the first one just there's some you like it's I don't know I feel really
They're
like
definitely, to me, they're different movies.
Yeah.
Just because of the one goes more to the side of comedy and physical
Yeah,
acting from
for sure.
Bruce Campbell, and the first one's more like the group
yeah
setting and just a cabin. So it's very more generic, like more placed. And then the
Mm-hmm.
second one's more like insane and
the second
over the
one,
top.
The Army of Darkness reminds me of a kid in King Arthur's court.
Yeah.
You
Okay,
remember that
yeah.
movie?
It is,
It's
yeah.
kind of like that's what it
Yeah.
kind of reminds me of.
I
I haven't seen those movies forever.
Yeah, I feel like in one instance they tried to make a legit horror movie
Mm-hmm.
and it was very cheese. And then in the second one they leaned into the cheese and it just sort of it brings
Yeah.
like it's self-aware almost.
Yeah, and I don't think honestly, I don't think for the first one that they were trying to go with cheese. I think they were literally just limited by the budget. Like a lot of those shots and everything they just did on like fan boats and like, just they had just fun little things. And some people like even I want to say, what's his name, Ash,
Bruce Campbell.
Bruce Campbell.
Bruce Campbell. Thank you. Like put in his own money
Yes.
for the movie. So not to dive in too deep, but I mean,
Yeah. Sam Raimi it all over that movie. And I think it shows.
Sam Raimi
Yeah.
did one series well. Spider-Man. I'm just kidding. Don't come for me. Especially you. Ryan loves Spider-Man.
Who doesn't love
don't.
Spider-Man?
No, he doesn't. He got so pissed off about all the
That's the
Spider-Mans
main
and
thing
stuff,
that I
yeah.
was like, it kind of ruined me from the Marvel like cinematic universe because I like put in time and energy. I was like, oh sweet, they're doing a Spider-Man movie, sick. And then the second one came out and I was like, oh sick. And then the third one came out and I was like, oh okay. And then they're like, yeah, don't worry about those, we're doing it again. And I was like, what do you mean? And then they did it again.
Yeah.
And it was just like, okay. And then by the time like Avengers was starting to happen, I was like, I don't fucking care anymore.
Yeah, at
dude.
that point, yeah.
I don't care. What are you gonna do? Just redo it again?
Essentially. I mean, that's comic book movies nowadays are just recycle characters.
Reduce, reuse, recycle.
Yep.
Dan Joseph, you really did give Son of the Mask a 0. Just
No.
straight 0.
Yeah. Yeah, again.
I didn't think
it-
anybody gave anybody a 0, but I just like looked at it and I was like, oh shit.
And it's I mentioned it in the pilot episode being like that's probably going to be the one I rate the lowest, and it is just because again I just think the studio just fucking ruined it. It's just studio interference, which still puts a part in Hollywood nowadays. But yeah, I feel like there was some concepts out there that could have worked. I feel like the actors could have added some stuff to it and it would have made the movie a whole lot better.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like the
Still
studio
surprises
had
me.
just wanted to make money and it ended up being the cheaper product and it ended up being a bad film, which sucks because I do really, really love that first movie. I love The Mask and I think you could have done so much more with it. And I don't need Jim Carrey to come back for another one. I'm
I was
good.
just gonna say, do you think that if they were like, oh, we'll greenlight a sequel now, do you think it would work?
I'm
unneeded.
worried. I'm worried about them just banking on like, oh, it's nostalgic though. They'll come anyways, and they're just gonna cheapen it again. Like that's my worry
Yeah.
for it.
I feel like the only way these like the sequel to The Mask would have worked is in the 90s. I feel like if
Yeah.
they made it now, it would just be kind of weird because I feel like that comic series is very much like of its time.
Yes.
So I feel like it would kind of be like, even though yes, like nostalgia is obviously very much in. I just don't see it being.
And I feel like people would then compare it to like Deadpool and stuff, and they're like, well, we like this character because he's outlandish too, and he does those kind of crazy
Yeah.
things. It's not gonna work as well as like it would have worked in the 90s.
Yeah,
it was
because
a
you would
better
need
time.
a Jim Carrey in order to pull that off. And like as much as like I feel like Jim Carrey still does well, like being his very like physically comic self, like especially like now we have like all of the Sonic's movies and everything like that. I almost, and I don't want to say this, but I almost feel like he's too old for The Mask.
That's what I was gonna say. I think
I hate
it
to
won't
say
be
that.
the
but-
same.
Yeah, I hate to say that because I don't think he's not even that old. I think what 61. We
62.
found?
62.
62.
And at what point does nostalgia just ruin the brand? Like, yeah, you're gonna get people to watch it because of what our childhood and stuff, but like, is that the only reason we really want this film, or is it actually going to be a good film? I'd rather it just be a good film.
Yeah, because you could
Yeah.
bring back like Three Ninjas. You could
Yes.
bring back like any of those, but like, is it?
But I don't want it
actually
just
gonna be
based off the
good?
title and the actors. I want the movie to actually be good as well. That's
Yeah.
a major component. Just don't be like, oh, your childhood's back. Go watch it. Like, if it sucks, it sucks, and it's going to actually ruin what I loved about the original. So why not? Why tarnish a legacy when it could just be what it is?
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's why I would argue that I think Cobra Kai did something really well, like at the right time, because like it brought back so many components of the original, and it just like it hit right when nostalgia is in. It picked up where it left off. You brought back a bunch of original characters, and you also did what a lot of movies do at times too, where you take the villain and they flip it and show you like their background, their story, their origins, or whatever it is, have you, and almost like, especially now, and if you watch Cobra Kai, sorry for spoilers, well, because it's a series, we're not going to talk about it. So, but like you see Johnny Lawrence, who was the bad kid in the original, and now he's kind of like this anti-hero,
it's like
right?
a redemption arc, right?
Yeah, it's like you kind of see him like flip the script of like, oh, he wasn't a bad guy then, and he's not a bad guy now. He was just directed in the wrong way as a kid, and now he's trying to change and like be, he's still obviously the same character, but like you get a different view. So I like kind of seeing that where
Yeah.
you almost get like that. He wasn't the bad guy. Like, don't get me it's different. It's
Yeah.
just a different view, and I like those types.
And
of
I love that because that's an effort made. You're taking a nostalgic thing, it's a nostalgic project, and doing a flip side of it, which adds to the legacy of that film.
yeah, it's just another dimension.
Doing
of the story you already
doing
know.
the same movie again with just being, well, we have new technology. But sometimes it cheapens it, man. I kind of like the way things were then.
Yeah.
It kind of adds to the film, especially at the time it was released. I have a more appreciation for that said film when it was released. Now what they do is just like they take something that we loved and they're like, we're going to do it again, do it kind of the exact same way, but they're going to love it anyways because they love the original. And then it ends up not being like that. So like, yeah, exactly. Cobra Kai, I feel like they have done a great job
Yeah.
with
I love
gaining
that
that
series.
audience,
It's great.
but then giving them that new perspective of it. So
Yeah.
I love that.
I would almost be interested to see them take stories that we grew up with and changing maybe like the plot, or like maybe doing kind of like, I know since we're talking about sequels, like kind of like what Shrek did, like It's a Wonderful Life kind of thing, where it's like I've never been born. So like, what if these characters had never gotten together? Like, where would Aladdin be if Jasmine wasn't a thing? If Jasmine was like, ew, I'm not marrying you.
He
Like, what would
continued
happen?
to be a street rat.
Yeah, well, no, but like maybe not. Aladdin's probably not the right example.
Or what if he's the prince and Jasmine is the street rat and she has to, like, you could change perspectives. It
yeah,
changes,
like just like could we would we, if we got an original concept like that and then just kind of like turn the tides of like, okay, instead of them bumping into a bar and falling in love madly, what if one of them got food poisoning and didn't go to the bar that night, and like where would we go? So I'm slightly intrigued by that, but I don't know how much backlash that could get, because I mean it depends, I think, on how much people love the story, the franchise, the whatever.
I think if you do it the right way, like Marvel does it, they have this whole series called What If, and it just
Yeah.
takes certain Marvel movies and they flip it. Like, what if this happened and this, like, if what's his name, then became Captain America, and it was the girl that became Captain like America, and you can just flip things like that. I think there's an interesting aspect to it. I think there's a way to do it, and there's a wrong way to do it at some point because you could always lose the plot.
I
But-
think a really good example of that would be like Maleficent,
Yeah.
where like the first one, like you take something and you show it from someone else's perspective, and it's like, well, maybe they weren't such a piece of shit. But then again, then you have the second one, and it's like, now you've cheapened it.
Yeah.
And it feels a little different.
Yes.
I think it's just all perspective of what they're going for, because like obviously you could have like a just straight villain, and then there's like this slight kind of like gray area where like, what if it's just their upbringing? What if it was just like a circumstance? Like I feel like there's certain villains you could not do that with. Like I highly doubt like Professor Umbridge from Harry Potter. I don't see her having a redeeming Like I hated that woman.
Is that the woman in all pink?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck that.
Like I hated her, you know. But I mean, like maybe there's a
Like
you know,
people always bring it up. What if they did it for Star Wars? What if
Yeah.
certain aspects in that trilogy or like the whole franchise that you could change, that could have added or taken away from the entire story as well?
Yeah.
What if they rode the eagles to Mordor?
Would have been one movie.
They wouldn't have been walking for 3 months.
Not 7 hours and whatever minutes long or whatever have you. So, I don't know. Something to think about. I
Why
want to
are you
hear
look-
Mooney's. I want to hear Mooney's best.
Oh, my best.
Since we've talked about the worst, got it out of the way.
I'm torn between two to give my best. I know what my highest rated one is, and then I
'Cause
did
you
peek
cheated.
I did peek at your thing to just double check, so I know what my highest rated sequel is. But I originally this morning was like, this is going to be my best, and it's not my highest rated one, so I'm very conflicted. I'm deciding between Shrek 2 and Home Alone: Lost in New York. Give me like 2 seconds. I'm gonna go with Home Alone because it was my highest rated sequel. I definitely think Home Alone 2 is better than Home Alone, which is why I'm going with that, because I do like the original Shrek over Shrek 2. I think Home Alone 2 Lost in New York is probably one of my favorite Christmas movies. I always want to watch it during the holiday season, and honestly, I'll even watch it if it's not Christmas time. I feel like it's very nostalgic. It made me want to go to New York as a little kid. I've always wanted to, till this day, I've always wanted to go to New York during Christmas time and like live my Kevin McAllister moment, go to the Plaza Hotel.
Get a cheese pizza.
I still love cheese pizza. Maybe that's why I only like cheese pizza, because of this movie.
I think you don't like vegetables.
I like certain vegetables, not all vegetables. But yeah, rent a white limo, get a piping hot cheese
She's a huge
pizza.
fan.
Yeah.
Very, very huge fan. I think it was very well done. I love Kevin McAllister, and I've always wanted to have my own Home Alone experience as a little kid.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna go with Home Alone 2 Lost in New York.
Yeah.
Passing the mic to somebody else.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in the same camp. Like
Ooh.
one of my best ones. Like I love Back to the Future. I love that whole series. But there's some things in there that like the second one's not as good as the first one for little things here and there. However, I feel that Home Alone 2 in my world, for some reason, just with all of the quotes and everything, that like I said, it changed me as a person. Like the first time I was like, I saw comedy in a way and I was like, that's funny. Home Alone 2 is better than Home Alone 1 for me. And well, because I found myself coming back to that one more. Like that scene where he touches the handles and he's a skeleton. Like
Oh yeah.
it
you
cracks
did.
me up
great
to this
scene.
day.
Yeah.
It still
You
cracks
love
me
that
up
scene.
now.
Yeah.
And I'm however old I am.
Especially that they memed it and like now you see it
Yeah.
everywhere,
Yeah,
and it's always
coming,
hilarious.
it's coming back.
Yeah.
So for me, it would be Home Alone 2.
I think it was also nice, like, you kind of see Kevin McAllister grow up a little bit in the second one, where he learned from his mistakes in his first one. You have him, and he's obviously more comfortable at his own home. Now he's in a whole new city. He's like, okay, I know I have an uncle that lives here. I have, like, everything. And then the credit card scene, I know you quote it almost all the time.
Father.
father.
I think it was it's just a very well done sequel.
Of all the movies like that, like, because I know that there's a tie. I'm sure I've given 4.5s for a couple.
3 times.
There you go. But but that one brings me the most joy. Like I just have a good time every time I
Mhm.
watch it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's a good movie or a bad movie. To me, it brings me joy.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what matters to me.
Of those 3 4.5s, Home Alone 2 was not one of them. I'm just kidding. I just wanted to, I just
shit,
wanted to be
I was-
like,
I was
really?
gonna say, I don't know. I wrote the list down. I have no idea what it was. I don't remember anything. I put.
Well, I mean, like, there's a lot of numbers on here, so I mean, like, and then I did averages because I was just curious.
Like
out
I
of
told her as I was like putting them in, I was like, I'm never gonna remember any of this.
so many numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah. What were the other ones that I gave 4.5?
You did Ocean's 12 and then Godfather Part 2.
So
those are
yeah,
your 3.
again,
So yeah.
Yeah.
like
Solid.
again, I like certain things in the series, but like for some reason, like
Choose the stand.
of Ocean's 12 and Godfather, like I've seen Home Alone 2 probably more times than both of them combined.
Yeah. I think out of all the movies we've seen, we've probably seen Home Alone 2 the most.
Like, I'm not just gonna be like, you know what I feel like seeing? Fucking Godfather Part 2. Let's pop that in right now.
Dude, I did that.
Yeah, once.
No, I literally like that's why I was like at the hospital it was on, and I was just like, oh shoot, I was like, I want to watch, like now I want to watch this, like just in the hospital. I'm just like, I'm suddenly getting better somehow with Al Pacino just sitting here staring at me in the face. And then I came home and watched it, and then literally not even 2 weeks later or 2-3 weeks later we watched it for the podcast. So I literally have seen
Yeah, that's true. No,
Godfather
you're right.
and Godfather Part 2 like at least twice in the last month.
And before that, how many times?
I would usually catch it like if it was on like AMC. I think it's normally
It's usually on, yeah,
Yeah.
on AMC.
Like, I'll catch parts of it, but I won't sit there and like watch from like start to finish of it. I'll usually like scenes, especially from like the first one. But
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. But in my head, it's like, not only is it a seasonal movie that you kind of put on a lot, but it's just a fun time.
yeah,
It's a digestible movie.
It's
You
good for the
can-
whole family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can put it on, do stuff in the background, or let
Yeah.
it take over your whole day,
Yeah.
whatever.
I think what's also great about Home Alone 2 is like a lot of like holiday movies. Their sequels are very like it's very cringy, very cheesy. I feel like this one stayed true to Home Alone and what made it such a successful movie. Like it didn't lean into like that cringe factor that a lot of like holiday sequels do, which probably why I really enjoyed it.
Talking smack on Santa Claus too, or
Absolutely.
Absolutely, goddamn.
I mean, yeah.
We all had choice words for Santa Claus too, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah, what was the average for that one?
oh my god, Santa Claus 2 2.1.
That's too generous for that one.
Well, you and Ryan gave it the highest score. You gave it a 2.5, so you brought that up.
Yeah, that's
Well,
true.
yeah, but also it was like how I said, like the way, I don't want to divulge how I come up with my scores, but they all start with a certain score.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
as the movie progresses,
You kind of
it'll-
go up and down.
I was also
decrease.
dressed as Santa Claus at the time and covered in beer, so that definitely influenced my score at the time.
You're like,
Yeah,
it's
it's a
all
2.5.
right. I will say, like, I feel kind of like over the like series now, like looking at my ratings and then just remembering back, I feel like at times I was too harsh. But then as the series went on, I felt like I was too generous. Like I kind of regret almost giving a few, because I feel like I've given a few 5s in between original movies and then the one sequel that I did. I don't think I would change the sequel that I did, but I feel like I might change. I would maybe go back and like slightly tweak some of the original movies that I gave 5s to, just because I feel like I was almost like too generous. I don't know. Just going back and thinking about it.
I can only remember 2 original movies that you gave 5s to.
I'm assuming one was The Godfather.
Make it 3. You
Okay.
gave Home Alone.
Maybe not. I don't know. Check tape, but
Yeah.
Maybe. I remember Godfather and Home Alone. You gave Home Alone a 5.
I love. Okay, so that's why like I was like I love the original Home Alone. I know you guys love the second one, and I absolutely understand why, and I get the quotability of it. Just I don't know. I love me like an original like series story kind of thing. Like I'm all about origins. Like I know we're a sequel podcast, but like I'm all about like an origins. Like give me where they came from, show me where they were built and all those things. So I don't know. I feel like Joseph and I's best is probably the same.
Yeah. Who wants to start it off?
I would almost say that it's the same, but I mean you might surprise me.
You want me to go first?
I was gonna say it at the same
No, you
time.
want-
but-
okay, go for it. 3, 2,
2,
1.
1.
Godfather Part 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, hit us with both your Godfather Part 2 reviews.
Related. Brother sister team,
Yeah.
tag team.
It's by me and Ryan. We got this.
Yeah. you guys can go eat your dumplings and watch Home Alone too.
Don't Don't tempt us.
Yeah.
We'll do it.
I don't know. I feel like there's not a whole lot to say about Godfather 2. I mean,
Yeah.
we just did it. Go check out the review.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I don't
I was
want
gonna say I feel like that's all of it in one shot, but I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
I feel like it's on the numbers. I feel like it's in like we've known that you've loved Godfather for
Yes.
a while now.
Mhm.
So
I feel like
don't
it's
know.
lasted the test of time. It's now 50 years old.
Yeah.
Still a movie that people still watch, still talk about, still play homage to, have little things in their films or shows that copy The Godfather and The Godfather Part 2. Great cast, great directing. The writing was fantastic. Shakespearean tragedy. Again, I don't want to go too into it because we just released that 2 weeks ago. Go check that out, please. All these movies that we're talking about right now, they're all full length podcast on the channel, so make sure you guys go subscribe and all that stuff. So yeah, Godfather 2, to me it's one of the closest perfect films I've ever seen in my life. So that's going to be the one I choose.
Currently our highest rated average podcast.
What is it?
Oh,
It's
yeah,
Godfather
yeah.
Part 2.
No.
As
what,
far
what's
as
the
score
score?
What's the actual
Oh, it's
number?
4.6 because it got 2 5s and then you gave it a 4.5. You gave it a 4.
It's very generous.
So you brought us down.
You give the
You
first
gave-
one at 3.5.
Part 2? 4?
Yeah.
I thought you gave part 2 higher than part 4. Or, I mean, part 1.
Part 1 should give it a 3.5, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think that. Yeah, I was like, we don't
Because when
go
I gave it
back,
a 4, you were like, oh, I don't feel so bad anymore.
Yeah,
And I was
I
like,
don't
yeah,
feel
it
so
was
Four is good.
It's solid. It's a good
3.5.
movie.
That too, like when we're in the threes, that's not bad. That's
No.
That's an
good.
average movie.
That's
That's,
That
a
means
movie.
it was
yes.
enjoyable, but
Yes.
it had some flaws to it.
Your
Exactly.
flaw is the length.
Yeah, that's what I gave.
Yeah. Which is an accurate, thing you can complain about. I just, I love it. I love the storytelling in it. It's a great film.
I think Ocean's 12 was a runner-up for me too. I just enjoyed that film like overall. I think it's like a fun, like just heisty kind of story. I don't know.
Oh, if I had a runner up, let me think about this. It's
I mean,
probably
I had 3 because I originally was like, oh, we'll do top 3 because we've
Yeah.
already talked about these movies. That was my 4th. Like Shrek 2 was in there.
I think my runner up is probably gonna be Aliens.
Yeah, Aliens.
Yeah,
I had
could-
Aliens, Godfather, and then Shrek 2.
Aliens to me is like I could just pop it on whenever, and there would be a moment in time where I will stop what I am doing.
You had a great time.
Yes, just to be like involved in it and just be like in that moment. Because to me, the action, the directing, it's a wild. To me, it's like a roller coaster in sci-fi, and I love it. So Aliens is definitely the runner-up for me for one of the best sequels that we talked about. Not for some people, but for me, I loved it.
The look-
She
I
said
rated
like
it higher
Aliens.
than
That's
Alien.
true.
I rated higher than Alien.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I know
And,
was
it.
so
and
funny.
Aliens is a really great sequel
Yeah.
too. Like as far as the ones that we've done so far,
Oh, for
that's
sure.
one of the best sequels to one of the movies that we've done.
I will tell you the funnest one we did was Clerks, definitely, because you were fresh into it. So I did enjoy that perspective of somebody that just watched Clerks after like decades of me always being like, like hyping it up, and then having somebody else's
did I give
perspective
Clerks?
watching it for the first time. I'm like, I did enjoy that.
Yeah, I gave it a 3.
Yeah.
So I was
You
fair.
gave
I
it
feel like
higher
was
than the
fair.
original.
Yes.
For sure.
I did like the second one for better than the first one for sure. I think like I mean I'm not saying that maybe it is like I think overall people just love the original.
I think
but
that we were all in the same boat.
Yes.
that
I feel like it was
it
just
added.
it was just so hard for me because I think for so long I had so many people being like, oh my god, you never seen Clerks? Oh, Clerks is so good. You need to watch Clerks. And then going into it, I just felt like it was so like beefed up for what we got. But then I think over time and then watching the second one, I was like, I kind of understand it. I'm not one of those people that's like, oh my god, Clerks is the best movie ever. But I get it and I respect it for what it is. Like
Yeah.
obviously like for the fact that like we're not filmmakers. Like we don't
No.
make film. As far as I know, I don't know about you guys. I never went to college for anything film, cinema, stuff like that. I have a theater background, so I have like slight over that. But I mean, I am by no means an expert in anything that we're talking. This is purely based on opinion. So, but I mean, like as far as like cinema goes, like for those people who have gone and studied and done all that stuff, like I feel like I have a level of understanding and respect for why. And movies take time. They
Yep.
take a lot of money. They take thought. They take, like a lot of choice here and there. They, risk, especially if you're telling
Yes.
something, especially for Kevin James,
Uh,
like something close to his heart, like
Kevin
Dennis-
Smith.
Kevin Smith. What did I say?
We
Kevin
did it.
James.
Second episode. We did it. Yes.
Whoa, different movie. I'm so sorry.
I did that last week.
Whoa.
Paul Blart.
Not Paul Blart. Yeah.
I did. I just called him Kevin Smith last
Damn,
week.
now I want Paul Blart in a Clerks remake.
No, yeah, but I liked when we did that because I think the perspective was what we're talking about. Like, there's appreciation for what it is, but also when you watch it, it can be different from the first viewing. Like a lot of people watch it at a certain age,
Yeah.
and that first one kind of delivers more than when you watch it now. Because when I watched it now in my 30s, I'm like, it doesn't hold up the same way I did when I watched it when I was in my 20s. So I do think that was a great pod for us, just the perspectives changing.
Yeah.
And I think that happens for a lot of films. I think there's period pieces, there's age pieces, and there's just things like that.
Well, I gotta say too, like that's why I'm kind of glad the 4 of us do this together because I feel like we all bring a different perspective. Like obviously, like at a certain point, like we can agree and disagree on certain movies, and I think that's why it's nice to have so many people talking about one, because you can have people who haven't seen movies that obviously others have. You can have people that are very passionate about other movies, people that are very nostalgic with movies, people that like great movies or don't like great movies that should. No, I'm just
Oh
kidding.
shit!
I'm leaving.
And then there were three. Our
And we
average
returned back to our home planet, and
and our averages significantly went up. But yeah, overall, like I think we did it. We had a great season. I
Yes.
think we watched some good movies, some not so good
Yeah.
movies.
And that's gonna be very
And we'll continue on.
Every
Yeah.
day moving forward,
every season. There's gonna be highs
and lows.
and fucking
Has,
lows.
Even
have
lower.
any,
So many lows.
has any one of us seen every movie that we watched this season? I know I haven't. I feel like you haven't.
No, yeah, Swamp
My only
Princess
question
I
would
never
be-
saw.
Oh,
I've never
yeah,
seen.
Swamp
I've never
Princess,
seen Swamp Princess.
Other than that, I can't.
I know you
remember.
guys haven't seen Weekend at Bernie's too. I know. for a
I
fact
never
that
seen
you
Weekend at
guys
Bernie's
haven't.
too. Yeah, that was my first
I've
time
actually
watching
never
it.
seen any of Weekend at Bernie's or Weekend at Bernie's 2.
I love Weekend at Bernie's.
The Terrifier movies.
Yes,
I've never seen any
Terrifier
of them.
movies.
The Santa
I
Claus
did, unfortunately.
trilogy. I've never seen them either.
Gotta confess, I've never seen the
Um,
Godfather movies.
Oh, and Ocean's 12. Never.
Yeah, you never, neither of them. You never seen Ocean's 11 or 12.
Yeah. And then the one movie that I never knew existed until this podcast was Return to Oz, which
You're welcome, everyone.
Yeah, but we also we didn't give that one as bad of a score as like maybe we thought we were going to.
I think
A lot of
average-
us were like very like I commend the movie for
I mean,
taking
I gave
it
it
a
a
certain
terrible
way.
rating.
You
What'd you give
did.
it?
I mean,
You
the
gave
three
it-
of us, I
you
think we
gave it
all
a
gave it
1?
the same.
That's
What
the
did
one
we-
I was
I
doing a
remember
toss
two.
I
up.
think we
I
gave it
think
like a
a 2.
2.5.
Well, all three of us gave it a 2.5.
Yeah.
This is the one I was deciding between. This was my third worst sequel that we talked
Yes.
about, where I was like, one of them.
Yeah,
will be
movie.
there.
I think for that one, for me, it was more the effects and some of the choices they made, the designs and
terrifying.
stuff. There was
That style
the
of
costumes,
movie.
all that stuff. I was like, I could
The
kind of get
acting.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
style
there
of
was
movie,
bad
for sure.
stuff, but it was like the way that was filmed and the editing and all that stuff. I appreciated that.
Yeah, that movie happens a lot. Like especially the time frame, like the 80s. There was
Mhm.
a lot of those movies that were just like borderline terrifying for children.
Mhm.
But that was
Still
just
out
the,
there.
like how we grew up.
Yeah, that's we just kind of took it.
I feel like that's what makes us kind of stronger, though. Like for those who grew up during the 80s or 90s, like we had a lot of like, what is that? Like Watership Down, kind of like
Yeah, like, what
borderline
the fuck is
terrifying.
happening?
Yeah, Bambi with a little fucking.
It's always funny doing the rewatch though, just being like, oh my god, like we went through this. I mean, some of us like enjoyed it.
Well, yeah,
I
and
was
you see like cartoons now with kids, and you're just kind of like we watched something the other day, and it was like, what was it, Pup Academy?
I was gonna bring it up,
my
but I wasn't.
God.
Yeah, it was bad. It was by the same people that did. Well, I don't want to say it was.
It was the same people
it-
that did Airbud.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did
but
a,
it's a
like a
series.
series. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very strange.
Ugh.
Shout out to my nephews for showing us that. Thank you, but no thank you.
Fuck, I was gonna say something. I
Was
totally
it cartoon or was it live
No, it was
action?
those movies, like those terrifying movies. Like there was something about
It's like a real dog with a like a mouth.
Oh hell no!
Yeah.
My god.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm not talking about Pup Academy. We're all
Oh, I
we're
thought you were
back
talking
on
about-
Return to Oz.
Oh, okay,
I'm
okay. I thought you
sorry.
were talking about that.
No,
My
no,
bad.
no, no, no. There's something about like getting scared that was fun
Yes,
for
yeah.
me. Like,
Yeah.
like
yeah.
getting scared was like silly. Like, ha ha ha. Like, oh shit, it's kind
Yeah.
of spooky. There's something fun about it, and I think now it's different. Like, it's sheltered and like.
But I think now we don't even get affected by it. We're just like, oh, this isn't good. Like,
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think it's just because real life is more terrifying than what we can see in film.
Yeah.
Whereas like back then, like movies were shown to kind of help you, like help kind of distract you from what's going on in real life. And I
Yeah.
feel like they're not so much distracting anymore. I don't know. Or maybe just the outside noise is louder than the inside noise kind of thing.
That was a sensory TV show for me.
Oh, the Pup Academy, whatever.
That was another thing where I was like,
So
I don't know who
rough.
this is for,
but yeah,
but it's for
it's,
somebody.
Yeah.
But it's just something to put on to have noise.
Mm-hmm.
It was really rough. Like I've seen some kids shows that I was just like, okay, this is cute, educational, like fun. It's a good story, like lots of light and colors and stuff like that. But
You can tell the ones that are good and ones that are
like
just
Blue's Clues, great.
That's a different time though.
Love Blue's
Yeah.
Clues.
Blue's
I'm talking
Clues
like
used
now.
to be great.
SpongeBob?
Not Blue's Clues now.
SpongeBob was
I
then.
live
I'm
for
talking about
SpongeBob.
now.
I know. But just saying, I love it. Shimmer and Shine. I was down with that.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
I love Shimmer and Shine.
I don't even know what that is.
No idea.
It's about two genies, a pink genie and a blue genie.
It's true.
Don't worry
Caillou?
about it.
Okay. Fuck Caillou. He's a little dude. I'm just kidding.
Now we're getting to a whole nother side,
Whole nother-
side
another
series
whole box.
for adults
The
review kid
spin-off.
shows. Yeah,
The
for adults
spin-off.
review kid shows. Oh.
So do-
Highest rated, yeah, I think we talked Godfather Part 2.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I was gonna say our highest rated was Shrek 2. Obviously. And then
Shrek
we
is
had
love.
some like 4s in there.
Mhm.
Home Alone 2,
Yes.
4.2, Ocean's 12, and Aliens both had a solid 4. So,
Solid movies.
Yeah.
solid movies. Yeah.
All right.
We do pretty well.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what next season has to behold for us.
Yes, season 2, man.
Oh, I hope
More
you're
movies, more sequels to discuss. And if you guys are interested, as always, subscribe, like, comment down below, hit the notification button if you want to, so you can get notified when we upload a brand new episode of podcast The Sequel. It's been a fun season 1, guys, and we're only getting started. So make sure to tune in for season 2 coming your way very soon. We will see you guys in the new year. So happy New Year's, everybody.
Happy
New
New
Year!
Year!
Happy New Year, bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. Until next time, the podcast, a show so sublime. Marissa, Mooney, Joseph, and Ryan signing off with glee. Join us next episode for more sequel revelry.